So today is the 2nd of November, Saturday, 2024. Most auspicious day, Govardhan Puja, Go Puja, Annukuta festival, the Avirbhav of Sriman Bhakti Kusum Sraman Goswami, and the appearance day of Rasikananda. So these are all auspicious celebrations today. So we'll speak about these, and we'll have our kirtan first, and then we'll discuss these topics. Hari. Radha Damodar Ju Ki Jai. Jai Radha Govinda Ju Ki Jai. Nityananda Rai Ki Jai. Satchinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Astotar Sarashishimad. Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Astotar Shishimad. Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Astotar Sarashishimad. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Asto Talasdara Shishimad. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gorakishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gauri Bharantaracharya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamanand Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Vardasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gaura Parsada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Siga Holsi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gauthamdvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritudvip Janadvip Modamdvip Ritudvip Apaka Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Badravan Bandiravan Belvan Lohavan Mahavan Madhuvan Talvan Kamudvan Bahulavan Brindavan Kadiyavan Kamyavan Brajamandal Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopi Govardhan Varasabad Matmika Shri Brajamandal Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund, Shama Kund, Ganga Jamuna Devi, Bhakti Devi, Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Devi Yogamaya Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai. Kitra Mandal Ki Jai. Sarva Vigna Vinasakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabha Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Charidam Ki Jai, Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai, Charya Charya Ki Jai, Akada Mat Raj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai, Shri Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai, Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Magina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Shvapadantikam Priya Sarupe, Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahajiva Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe, Anapita Chirim Chirat, Kurana Bharatinokala, Samad Praitam, Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam, Hari Purata, Sundaratuti Katamba Sadipita, Sada Hridare Kandare Spuratu Iva Sachinandanaha, Yam Prabhajantamana Petyam Apeti Krityam, Dvai Paino Viraha Katara Ajuhava, Putre titam mayatayo tarabogini dustam sarabhutam hridim munimanatoshmi Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay Shiptascha karmadi tarangamadye Kripa mahitvam sharanam prapana Vrinde namaste charanarvindam Bhajami radham aravinda netram Smarami radham madhurashmitasyam Vadami radham karuna baradram Ato mananasti katina kapi Tabaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Vidi Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayavam Charanantikam. And first of all, offering millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishima Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishima Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to all our illustrious Rupa Nuga Guru Varga and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. my Dandavat pranams to everyone. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyacha, Patitanam Pavnibhyo, Vaishnave Namo Namaha. So today here in Giriraj Govardhan, Radhakund, 2 million, 3 million people. Practically you can't even ride a bicycle on the Prikrama path. Totally jam-packed. You certainly can't ride a scooter on the Prikrama path without bumping into people. So, festive days. These festive days are described in the 11th canto to Uddhav, are the heart of bhakti. Krishna loves these festival days. Can you tell them to be quiet? Just open the door and ask them just to quieten down a little bit. You have to go out there and just ask them. Just, no, but it's in that room. So, yes, these festivals are very important to observe and substantiate our rock-solid nishta and faith in these remarkable pastimes, particularly the lifting of Giriraj Govardhan. This is amazing. So today we worship the cows, and the cows will be decorated with hand marks of turmeric and garlands and fed sumptuously, nice grasses, gur, bananas perhaps, biscuits they like also, Parle-G biscuits. So it's a very auspicious occasion. Everyone is in a festive mood, atmosphere. So also this is the day that Brajendrananda and Shyamsundar decided to chastise Indra. Indra, he considered his pride had become excessive. The emperor of the Devas, the king of the Devas, Indra, and he convinced his family members, Nanda Baba and all the Brijbasis, to, instead of honoring Indra today, we should actually honor Giriraj Govardhan and the cows. So Krishna takes the role of, it's called Kama Mimams. He speaks the glories of Kama Mimams. It's actually not a pure philosophy, but Krishna is speaking it in a very convincing way to convince the Brijbasis to not perform this sacrifice to Indra. So they all listen to Krishna because he's the darling of their lives. And they're quite amazed. Krishna is just a small boy. He hasn't actually engaged in the Rasa Leela at this time. He's less than 7 years old. And Nanda Baba initially isn't really explaining to him what he's doing, but Krishna asks in such a mature way that Nanda Baba responds. And then Krishna begins speaking the glories of Giriraj Govardhan and the glories of the cow. He's saying, this is our sustenance. This is where we get all the nourishment from for the cows, etc. So we should worship Giriraj Govardhan. It's not Indra. Indra sometimes puts his rain in the ocean everywhere. It's not, he's just not directing it here fully. So, but we should worship Giriraj Govardhan. So the Brijbasis joyfully agreed, and they begin to prepare all the preparations for the Annukuta festival. That's the offering of all foodstuffs. But prior to that, they all circumambulate Giriraj. They all put their finest dresses and cloths on, and they have bands and singing music and so on. The cows are in front, and they all, the Brijbasis, they all circumambulate Giriraj Govardhan. It's described in Ananda Vrindavan Champu that this sound of this sweet kirtan and music gives Indra a headache, because he's realizing that they're not going to offer their sacrifice to me. Instead, they're offering it to Giriraj Govardhan. So they perform the parikrama, and then they begin offering all the foodstuffs to Giriraj. And Krishna wants to reinforce the faith in the Brijbasis, in his words, and the fact that Giriraj, of course, is a personality. So all of these mountains, Annukuta, it means a mountain of anna, rice, a mountain of halva, mountains of pakoras, mountains of sabji, sweet rice, lakes of sweet rice. So much offering, boga offering is given. This is at the place called Anayor. And Krishna, because of Krishna's presence, manifests there as Giriraj Maharaj. He manifests his huge form and he starts taking with many hands all the different preparations and consuming them. And the Brijbasis are just amazed to see Giriraj come alive like this. And Krishna and Balarama are there, and they very nicely, they offer dandavats to Govardhan at that time. And all the Brijbasis offer the same. And they all feel great enthusiasm and that they are supported. And their nishta in the personality of Giriraj is made very strong. And then after Giriraj has consumed all that, he's saying, Anayor, Anayor, give me more, give me more. They rush to their houses, they prepare everything in their food cellars, everything is brought, and they give then they have nothing else, they've given all the milk. So then one Brahmin steps forward with a whole bunch of tulsis and gives to Giriraj. Then Giriraj says, I'm satisfied.
Triptosmi.
Tritosmi, tritosmi, tritosmi. That I'm satisfied. Now I'm satisfied. Tritosmi. So then he manifests again all of those foodstuffs so that the Brijbasis can honor them themselves later on. But this form that is manifest there is the form of Bhagavan. Bhagavan Giriraj. We can worship Giriraj in the form of Bhagavan, as Krishna himself. Or we can worship him as the greatest servant of Bhagavan, Haridasavarya. Or we can worship her as Girirani. There are three identities that we can offer our worship to, depending on our own inclinations. If we realize that there's only one male in the various Rasik Kunjas on Govardhan, when Krishna is performing his pastimes, there's only one Purush. So Giriraj would not be appropriate in that place. So my Gurudev has explained it's Girirani. So we can worship Giriraj, Girirani, or Bhagavan Giriraj in these three different identities. Completely no problem, whatever is your nishta, to worship that shalagram like that. So then after all the food stuff has been consumed and so on, the festival has gone on, then a couple of days later, Indra is just tortured by, we can say, envy practically. Who is this little boy? How has he hijacked my whole yajna? And then he, in such a fit of anger, he calls the Sambat clouds, the time of devastation, not just a little bit of rain, but the clouds at the time of devastation. And they're actually tied with ropes of wind. And he cuts those ropes of wind and encourages those clouds to, with the help of Vayudev, to come over Braj and completely, he wants to drown, he wants to murder all the inhabitants of Braj. It's not just a punishment, he wants to completely annihilate the whole village. It's shocking, actually, what he wants to do. So for one whole week, he starts this torrential downpour. And all the Brijbasis, when this begins, it's described that the rain is coming down like pillars. Huge pillars of rain are falling, and the calves are sheltering underneath their mothers and so on. And everyone is put to great discomfort, and they all immediately run to Krishna. And Krishna, of course, instantly knows what's happening. He tells them all just to be patient. And then it's described, he runs from his place to Govardhan. And it's described, Punamasi protects him from not having a single drop of water on him. And then he just happily picks up Govardhan as if it's like a toy ball. And underneath Govardhan, there's like a hill, a separate hill. So Krishna stands on that hill and holds up Govardhan. Then he calls all the Brijbasis in, and he has to coach them in. He has to coax them to come in because they're afraid. This mountain, this is Giriraj that they've just worshipped, that they've just circumambulated, is being held aloft, apparently on the finger of Krishna. Now, this is really interesting from what we're discussing in our Damodarastakam, how you have apparently such an opulent act right in Braj, and yet it's not considered opulent. It's not considered Aishwarya. So this is because the Brijbasis don't believe that Krishna is just doing that himself. So after Krishna coaxes them all in, coaxes them all in underneath, and Jiva Goswami in his Gopal Champu has described that there's a whole like village settlement underneath the mountain where the cows can be comfortable, where there's grains for them, etc. Everyone can be completely comfortable. And jewels and so on underneath the mountain. And they all come in. And then Krishna is standing right in the center for 7 days, holding up this mountain. And all the Brijvasis are thinking different things. Many think that this mountain has again sprung its wings, because previously the mountains all had wings, that Giriraj is actually flying. And or others are thinking that because of the pious credits of Nanda Baba in his worship of the Shalagram, that Giriraj has decided to raise himself aloft. So Radharani has told Giriraj, if you drop down 1 millimeter, I will incinerate you. So my Gurudev says, actually the reason why that Govardhan is up there is only because of Radharani. It's her potency that is holding Giriraj aloft. Then the Sakas, they are all thinking that they are holding up Govardhan. They've got their sticks underneath, and they're all convinced that they are holding Govardhan. But no one is really, really, really thinking that just Krishna himself is holding it on his little pinky. They're not really thinking that, because Yogamaya has covered them to such a degree. But Krishna, he loves his devotees so much. He wants to reciprocate with his devotees' affection. So he gives his devotees an opportunity for his darshan. For a full 7 days, he's just standing there right in the center, and all the Brijbasis are all just gazing at Krishna, unobstructed, for a whole 7 days, including the gopis, including Srimati Radhika. They don't have any reason to turn their faces away from Krishna. So this is very pleasing to Krishna, and most pleasing to the Brijbasis. They want his darshan, his complete, deep darshan. So they are drinking that. Mother Yashoda is massaging his arm and saying, oh, this must be heavy. Let your brother Balaram hold it for a little while. And then she puts some makhan in Krishna's mouth. And then Krishna, he starts to tremble a little bit because he sees Radharani for a moment. And she's looking at it, oh, the big hero. Because this is another part of the pastime. Krishna likes to show himself as the heroic personality, especially in front of the gopis. So he is such a hero, he can hold up a mountain. Who could be more of a hero than this? And but when Krishna sees Radharani, he begins to tremble a little bit. Balaram, he sees this and he scolds his brother. Hey, keep your eyes on the people here and careful with Radharani. But sometimes Krishna is playing his flute. It's 7 days, but it's described that it feels like 20 minutes for the Brijvasis. It feels just like 20 minutes goes because they're so absorbed in this incredible darshan of Krishna. Can you imagine the atmosphere of a massive mountain sitting above you and absolutely torrential rain pouring outside? Huge crashing thunder claps are going on outside, and not a single drop of water is entering in. It's all being evaporated by who? By Sudarshan Chakra. Sudarshan Chakra is on top, spinning very, very quickly and evaporating all the excess water. And then also Shivji is there with his Trishul, spinning his Trishul. So all of the lightning bolts that are coming, then he's deflecting them all away. And all the animals on top, still on top of Govardhan, are not disturbed in the least. Not even an ant is disturbed in Braj. So the Brijbasis had the most ecstatic festival underneath, just glorifying Krishna with each other. And then Indra, he sends all his spies to ask them what's happening, and they report back, nothing's happening. They're all having a party underneath the mountain. Indra, he can't believe it. He becomes more enraged. He throws more rain, more thunder, more thunderbolts, but nothing seems to disturb any. And then, of course, the crisis moment comes when he realizes this person is greater than me. This must be actually that Supreme Lord. This must be Vishnu himself, because they don't really understand the Supreme Lord. It's like Vishnu. Vishnu, they understand, they comprehend, because Vishnu comes and bails them out many times in their disturbances with the demons. So then he realizes this must only be Vishnu. And then he hesitates, and then he starts to blow the whistle and tell Agni Dev and all the Devas just to back off a bit. And then slowly, everything has to settle down. And then Krishna realizes that actually the rain has stopped now. So then he tells all the Brijbasis to take your cows now, because the cows have enjoyed so much darshan of Krishna also, and all the calves. Because we hear in Venugit, when Krishna plays his flute, how the cows, they let the grass drop out of their mouths. They become so overwhelmed by the sounds of Krishna's flute. Krishna plays his flute while he's under, just with one hand. He plays melodies on the flute as well. So they all become totally they're reluctant to actually leave the mountain. They've had such, a pleasurable experience underneath the mountain, but Krishna encourages them, no, now the rain has stopped. And they come out, and nothing has been decimated by the rain. Everything is as it was before, but actually it's been washed completely, pristine, clean. Why? Because the Rasa Leela is about to take place. Just a short time after this pastime, the Rasa Leela takes place. So all of this, many factors are rolled into this pastime. And when the Brijbasis come out, then Krishna, he very carefully puts the mountain back down again and steps back again. And then at this time, this is actually, the Brijbasis, they become overwhelmed by this. And then they come to Nanda. We think your son is God. He held up this mountain, for 7 days and saved us all. He chastised the Kaliya serpent. He chastised Putana, Trinavrata, Shakatasura, Aghasura, Bakasura, all these different demons. We think he's God. Nanda Baba, he just leans back and laughs and laughs and laughs. He said, oh, you cowherd men, you don't even develop your wisdom. Your milk teeth, it seems, don't drop out until you're 80 years old. In other words, you're childish. How can this be God? He cries and pulls tantrums when he doesn't get mukkan. He lies, he steals constantly. He's going to people's houses and taking butter. And if he gets caught, he denies it completely. How can this possibly be God? And then the blanket of Yogamaya descends over all the Brijbasis, and they realize, and of course he's not God. How can he possibly be God? This was just a pastime that, because of Nanda's pious credits, or perhaps Govardhan had sprung some wings. They think like that. So again, the mountains settle back down, and then a little bit after that, the next day, Indra, who's feeling totally repentant now because he realizes the supremacy of this person, and he knows if he doesn't come and apologize, then everything will be inauspicious for him. So one day, Krishna deliberately walks onto the top of Govardhan just to check out. He tells all the suckers, you all stay here, I'm just going to check out if there's much damage during the whole storm and everything. So he walks alone on the top. And then Indradev comes. But Indradev, of course, has come with Surabhi cow, because Indra has gone to Lord Brahma and says, what shall I do? He's panicked, what shall I do? How can I, he's just going to ignore me if I just walk in there and apologize. So Lord Brahma, he directs him, you go and beseech Surabhi Devi. This is not the transcendental Surabhi Devi. This is the Surabhi Devi in the heavenly kingdom. Indra is not qualified to be with that transcendental Surabhi Devi in Goloka Vrindavan. So the Surabhi Devi from the celestial world comes with Indra. And of course, Krishna is immediately endeared towards Surabhi Devi. And then Indra begins his apologies and regrets. And Krishna is not really listening particularly. He's hearing them, but he's sort of... And then Indra says, he calls all the Devas, because he's the king of the Devas, and they want to do a Abhishek for him. So a glorious Abhishek. Lord Brahma comes, Agni Dev, Vayu, all the personalities, Surya Dev, everyone, and all their wives, they all come. And they have 1 million lamp. Maybe it's not 1 million. I don't know whether you can get 1 million deeps in one lamp, but they have huge lamps that you have to offer like this. It's all incredibly opulent. Huh?
Sahasradeep.
Sahasradeep. What's that mean?
1,000.
Sahasradeep. Okay, Sahasradeep. So 1,000. Hasra is 1,000. So Sahasradeep. So 1,000 wicked lamps they're offering. And Lord Brahma is chanting so many Vedic mantras, and all are offering opulent gifts and benedictions to Krishna. And Krishna is just sitting on a rock in his cowherd attire, and he's a little bored by the whole thing. And they've got huge chamaras and whisks. They're all fanning and offering like that. And then down at the bottom of Govardhan, all the cowherd boys, they're all coming along, they're walking along. And they look up on the top of Govardhan, and they see all these shining beings, and they wonder who they are. Madhumangal, who's the Brahmin boy, he steps, oh, these are Devas. I know, I'm a Brahmin boy, I can recognize them, they're demigods. So then they all say, quickly, we have to go up and we have to see. But the Devas know that this will overlap Krishna's Leela and probably make him unhappy. So that's the last thing Indra wants to do. So all the Devas jump behind the clouds. They manifest clouds and they hide behind the clouds. And then all the Sakas come up, but they've left all their paraphernalia behind. So they pick up all this paraphernalia and then they start fanning. And Krishna's laughing, he's joking, he's so happy now. And the Devas become really embarrassed. You know, what happened? We were doing all this offering and Krishna was just sitting there looking a little bored, you know, with all our reverential offering. So the Devas do like this. You know, how can they please Krishna the way the Brijbasis do? So then the Devas, they retire, Krishna comes down, and this is basically the conclusion of this Leela. But it's forever etched into the consciousnesses of the Brijbasis, just like here today in Bharatvash, in India today, it's etched into so many millions of Brijbasis, of Indians, we can say. Not necessarily Brijbasis, but with devotees. And they're all across the whole of India. There's, what, 2.5 billion people in India. So many of them are celebrating this festival of the lifting of Govardhan Hill. So it's remarkable, the nishta and the faith. Because if you told any person who wasn't a devotee, oh, this little boy, he lifted a mountain, they just said, oh, you're nuts or something, you know, how can you think that? But everyone here understands that. Everyone believes that fully, fully, fully. No one doubts it for a second. We've been brought up with that. Those pictures of Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill. Everyone accepts it fully, fully, fully. But it's a remarkable phenomenon that a little boy should lift up a huge mountain. But we don't think twice about it because we have so much nishta and affection for Krishna. Of course that happened. Of course that was absolutely true. But a non-devotee, they're denied the joy of having faith in this, we can say achintya lila. It's like an inconceivable lila that Krishna performed. So Krishna arranges this lila to satisfy his Brijbasis, primarily. This is why chastising Indra is a secondary event. But the real event is to give his darshan to the Brijbasis for 7 full days. Krishna loves to look at all the Brijbasis all the time himself. And the Brijbasis adore looking at him with fixed gaze, with no obstruction. So this is the real reason why Krishna actually arranges for this remarkable pastime to take place. So this is the pastime of Giriraj Govardhan and the Annukuta festival, which we described earlier. And everyone performs this Annukuta today by offering so many foodstuffs to Giriraj. So our Nishta and faith in Brijbasis, as we've been reading in Damodar Astika, and their pastimes, and this particular pastime is very prominent in our whole meditation for appreciating the Leelas of Krishna. So Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. So we are so fortunate being here and witnessing the enthusiasm of the crowds from early morning. Actually started on Diwali, because Diwali is the day before. All night we had firecrackers, all night. No one slept practically. All night firecrackers, and then today Annukuta and festival of Go Puja and celebrating Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill. So it's a very joyful festival that Krishna recommends in the 11th canto to Uddhav. All Vaishnavas should celebrate these types of festivals. And on this day, it's also a celebrated day for the appearance of Bhakti Kusum Sraman Goswami, who we are fortunate personally here in this ashram where we're saying the owner of the ashram, he's a disciple directly of Srila Bhakti Kusum Sraman Goswami. He was initiated in 1976 by Bhakti Kusum Sraman Goswami. Bhakti Kusum Sraman Goswami was born in 1900, the beginning of this century, 1900, when he took his birth. And he was born in a Brahmin family and very erudite, and went to medical school, medical college. And he passed all his exams with distinction. And when he'd finished his exams, etc., then he had met the devotees. He'd been brought in the presence of Srila Bhakti Saraswati, and in 1927 he accepted Harinam and Diksha from Srila Bhakti Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. So this is Bhakti Kusum Sraman Goswami. And then he was performing so many sevas, particularly taking care of the devotees' medical health. And he was also very scholarly. He was helping with the book publication. He helped with that Dainya Prakash publication with Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. They worked on that together for a long time. He did those sorts of services is what he was engaged in. And his character and nature that all the commentaries say about him was his excessive humility and his excessive tolerance. He was so humble and he was so tolerant of any offenses committed towards him or any disturbances. He never joined any of the parties when they had that breakdown of the Gaudiya Math just after Bhakti Saraswati left. He was like a neutral person. But he stayed in the Chaitanya Math all that time, which is the root Math, the original Math. And this Math came into the hands of Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj. So Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj was the Acharya of that Math until 1976 when he left this world. And then in 1976, all of the senior Vaishnavas, they all accepted that actually Bhakti Kusum Sraman Goswami, he should be the next Acharya of the Math. So he was the next Acharya for the next 10 years. He looked after that Chaitanya Math and maintained stability within the Gaudiya Math. He's also credited with building, when you go to that Chaitanya Math, you have the Giriraj Govardhan mountain there that you can circumambulate. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had that vision of Radhakund and Giriraj there in the Yog Pit Center in Mayapur, in the Chaitanya Mat. So he is credited with building that Giriraj mountain in Chaitanya Mat. So he did so many savas, and then he left this world in 1986, 86 years old. So he did tremendous service for Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's Gaudiya Mat. And we are fortunate today that our dear friend Jai Krishna Prabhu, he's a direct disciple of this person. So today we celebrated with a nice Vyas Puja feast in honor of this personality. So we're very grateful for that. It's also the appearance day of Sri Rasikananda Prabhu. Rasikananda is connected very closely with Shyamananda Prabhu. We have these three principal teachers who come like in the second generation after the six Goswamis. After the six Goswamis, and then there is Krishnadas Kaviraj also, and then there is Shyamananda, Narottam, and Srinivasacharya, these three. So Shyamananda himself was not a Brahmin, and he was preaching very vigorously in Orissa. Actually, we should understand the history that after Mahaprabhu left this world in 1532, 34, 32, you remember the date? No? Okay, I think it's 1534 maybe. 1534 is the date of Mahaprabhu's disappearance. They call it Partanas, the Muslims, Partanas. That's right. They're called Partanas. You know your history? The Partana Muslims?
Partana Muslims.
Yes.
Pathans.
Pathans, okay, Pathans. They flooded down all the way to Jagannath Puri, decimating all the temples, etc. They even attacked in Jagannath Puri after Mahaprabhu had left. And much of the preaching and teaching that Mahaprabhu had established in Orissa was actually eroded by these Partanas, we call them, Partana Muslims.
Pathan Muslims.
Pathan Muslims. I'm not familiar with this as much as you are. So the Pathan Muslims. So when Shyamananda was directed by Jiva Goswami principally to go to Orissa and preach the gospel, we can say, the teachings of Satchidananda Gaurahari. So he was a very, very powerful preacher, Shyamananda. And he was doing so much seva in Orissa, and he so much wanted someone to help him do all this. And then Rasikananda was a young Brahmin boy at the time, or young man in his 20s like that. He was so impressed and taken by Shyamananda Prabhu's erudition and teachings and qualification. He joined and he took initiation from Shyamananda Prabhu. And this greatly angered all the caste Brahmins. Why are you taking initiation from someone who's not even a Brahmin? Shyamananda was not a Brahmin. So this was a great disturbance for the general, the smarter group. They were very, strict in their material conception, etc. But Rasikananda himself was so erudite, he was so powerful, he could defeat all the arguments that the Brahmins would come at him with, and he was able to purify all that, and vigorously supported Shyamananda in the resurrection of the Vaishnava cult in Orissa in particular. For many, many years, he worked with Shyamananda Prabhu doing that. And he was very much disliked by many of the smarters, etc. Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj describes an incident where a mad elephant was arranged to charge at him and kill him. And Rasikananda, is described, was so powerful with mantra, etc., that when this mad elephant charged, Rasikananda didn't move or flinch and just began chanting this mantra, and the elephant ran at him and then heard the mantra and slowed and then knelt down. And it's described, took initiation from Rasikananda. So he convinced all the people of his mystic potency as well. Not that the devotees ever want to bring out their mystic potential, but sometimes Krishna makes the arrangement where that has to be manifest for the sake of saving your life or for the sake of different situations. So Rasikananda is a very, very special personality in our line, and his samadhi is in Remuna. We know where Remuna is on the way to from Calcutta to Jagannath Puri. Halfway there's a town called Jalaso, and just a little bit north of that is the township of Remuna, where the pastime of Kirchur Gopinath is there, and also is the samadhi of Madhavendra Puri is there, and also the samadhi of Rasikananda is there. So we can go to that place and remember this exalted personality, Rasikananda Prabhu. So today is his appearance day, and the appearance day. So I think that's everything covered. So it's a very special, festive day, and we still have time for 10 minutes of Damodarastakam. Shall we do that?
Yes,
Just
can finish verse.
okay. So the fourth, we'll come back to our subject of the Damodarastakam, and we've almost finished the chapter actually, but there's quite a lengthy footnote here. So we'll so now we've been discussing the speciality of Shuddha Bhakti, not just Shuddha Bhakti, but Braja Bhakti, and the nature of the Brijbasis. And we've had the greatest fortune today to describe the pastime of Giriraj Govardhan in connection with the moods of the Brijbasis and their activities with Brajendrananda and Shyam Sundar. So it really complements what we've been reading about. My Gurudev has been describing, encouraging us to enter more deeply a focused place of internal bhajan. We have Vaidhi Bhakti and Achan, which is like an external aspect of the limbs of bhakti. But that's not going to take us to the highest conception of Goloka Vrindavan. Certainly, we're not going to appreciate the speciality of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gifts if we remain in that Vaidhi mood. We are performing Vaidhi Bhakti, but with the intention of attaining Raganuga Bhakti. So we are Rupanuga, Raganuga, Vaidhi Bhaktas. Or we can say Vaidhi Bhaktas, Rupanuga, Raganuga. We're focusing on that direction. We have to have that fixed attention and focus beyond Vaidhi Bhakti. That has to be clear. So we've been describing many incredible teachings in that direction, all fueled and empowered by Mahaprabhu and his associates, Swarupa Damodar, Rai Ramananda, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. All our Guru Varga have all supported this mood, because basically it's Radharani's line. Radharani wants to facilitate Krishna's desires to taste her moods. Anything that Krishna wants, Radharani wants to support that. Anything. Radharani, every atom of her being is only focused on pleasing and fulfilling the desires of Krishna. So if Krishna wants to taste her moods, then Radharani and if Krishna wants to benedict the world once in the day of Lord Brahma, And how many years in the day of Lord Brahma, Harindu?
How many?
Years?
In a day of 8,640,000,000.
Well done. So one boy is listening here, and he got the answer pretty much right on the head. Very good, very good. So that's the day of Lord Brahma. Krishna only comes once. And Mahaprabhu only comes once afterwards to explain who was Krishna previously. Otherwise, no one would know who was Krishna. So now we've come back to our subject matter here. And on page 95, we're at the bottom of this now. So I'll just read the last translation of the last paragraph on page 95, just to connect us where we were previously. Actually, the last thing we were talking was saying Trinada Pi Sunichena, this powerful, powerful, powerful Shikshastikam mantra, Trinada Pi Sunichena. Without this, the embodiment of this, because we are the total contradiction of this in this world. We're proud of everything. We're proud of our shoes, we're proud of our cars, we're proud of our hairstyles, we're proud of our eyesight, we're proud of our bodies. Anything, any opportunity to be proud, we'll jump at it. Yes, that's me. Yes, that's me. No. Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes that as the colossal affair of samsara. So the antithesis of that is humility. And it's embodied in this verse, Trinada Pi Sunichena, that we should chant and reflect on and remember moment by moment by moment. Like as you do various parikramas and so on, you might just take a certain part of that parikrama, and every time you do it, if you do the parikramas regularly, you can think, well, every time I'm here walking around this particular place, I'll say this verse. Or in the day at a particular time, perhaps just before you take prasad, say this verse. Or perhaps just before you take rest at night, say this verse. Do what we call a rain check on it. Just examine your heart. Am I becoming humble? We have to do it 3 times a day is best, because we're so dull and we're so proud of any type of material accomplishment we might achieve in this world. We think it's my doing. That puts us in the unqualified school. Completely. Automatically. We're trying to access the moods and nature of the Brijbasis. So in every respect, the sadhak should see himself as more lowly and helpless than the most insignificant trampled blade of grass, and becoming even more tolerant than a tree. Expecting no honor for himself, he should give due respect to all. In this way, the sadhak should always perform Harinam Sankirtan. Doesn't matter how many times we say this, we'll just forget it in the next 30 seconds. That's why we have to say it repeatedly. We are so dull. I have to tell myself, you are stupid. I have to tell myself that I am stupid. Every day we have to reinforce that, because it'll get away with us, because the taste and sweetness of reputation is like tantalizing. Oh yes, everyone will love me, everyone will think I'm a great person or something. And then you've lost the focus of glorifying Krishna. It's a very subtle, skinny little connection, actually. It's a very small hole that we have to go through to make this connection with the Lord and that transcendental world. Okay, so on the bottom of 94, during his pastimes in Dwarka, Sri Krishna himself exemplified this instruction of Sri Gaurahari, humility. In one incident in particular, his conduct exemplifies this instruction. That incident goes like this. Once Durvasa Rishi arrived in Dwarka. Durvasa literally means he who subsists solely on the juice of durva grass. At that time, Sri Krishna was sitting in his palace. As soon as Durvasa Rishi arrived, Sri Krishna exclaimed, As soon as Durvasa Rishi arrived,
Before Sri Krishna.
Durvasa Rishi arrived before Sri Krishna. He explained, I am very hungry. Make arrangements to feed me. However, the moment his meal was ready, he went away. This is Durvasa. He's like a cantankerous yogi. At midnight, he suddenly returned and asked for his meal, which was then served to him. When he had eaten only a little of it, he turned to Sri Krishna and said, "Smear this half-eaten sweet rice on your body." Silently, Krishna smeared the half-eaten sweet rice over his entire body. He smeared it everywhere except on the soles of his feet. The residents of Dwarka looked on infuriated, but they could not say a word. "I want to ride around in a chariot pulled by Rukmini," he said Durvasa Rishi. After Sri Krishna made the arrangements for this, Durvasa Rishi demanded that Sri Krishna become the charioteer. Sri Rukmini dragged the chariot along until on the verge of fainting. She fell to the ground. Upon seeing this, the residents of Dwarka were unable to tolerate any more. So Durvasa abruptly jumped from the chariot and fled. Sri Krishna began searching for him and calling out his name. Krishna wasn't disturbed, he was just tolerating it. Durvasa Rishi again appeared. "O Dwarkadish," he said, "even among the demigods I have never seen anyone so self-composed and tolerant. Surely you are the Lord and benefactor of the Brahmanas, Brahman Deva. I have enacted this pastime just to establish your honor throughout the three worlds. O Sri Krishna, on my order you smeared my half-eaten sweet rice all over your body, everywhere except the soles of your feet. Your whole body has now become as strong as a thunderbolt, but the soles of your feet are weak and susceptible to being wounded." So we know the Leela at the very end when Krishna is leaving this world. The hunter Jara, he comes and he sees the sole of Krishna's foot and he thinks it's a deer because it's reddish. And he aims that arrow. The arrowhead is made from that iron club that Durvasa cursed Samba, the boy, who was making himself look pregnant, to have an iron club as a child. And the boys, they pulled the cloth back and there was this iron club. So they they ground it down to iron filings. But there was a tiny little nugget left that they couldn't grind. That was thrown into the sea. And Jara's wife, she caught that fish. And then she found that piece of iron inside the stomach of the fish. She gave it to her husband, who fashioned it into an arrow. And then her husband was searching for a deer. Now, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes, this is so much just arranged Leela. How would a hunter be hunting in a forest where more than 580 million people had just been killed in a fratricidal war between each other? The Vrishnis, the Bojas, etc., they'd all apparently become drunk and they'd all fought each other and they'd killed each other with those sharp bamboo canes that contain the rest of the iron filings. So when you've had all that devastation around, you think a deer would be hanging around in that area of that commotion and noise? Absolutely not. But Jara, pushed by the potency of the Lord, was there with his arrow, and he saw the reddish heel of Krishna and he shot the arrow into it. And this was the excuse for Krishna to leave the world from the manifested vision of personalities like Lord Brahma. That's where he leaves, according to the Devas. They all think he leaves this world according to that time, because he'd already purified the planet by winding up his relatives. He couldn't leave all the Yadus and Bojas and Vrishnis behind, because they were very, very powerful personalities. They would have created chaos on the planet. They all had to be annihilated. There was no other way to annihilate them except by themselves. Their own prowess and potency could annihilate each other. So they all killed each other. And that's how Krishna liberated those souls from the planet. And himself appeared to go, actually he returns to Mathura and he kills Dantavakra in Mathura. Then he comes to Vrindavan and he stays in Braj for a little while, and then he takes all the Brijbasis back to Goloka Vrindavan. So he has two disappearances, just like he has two appearances. He appears in Mathura and he appears in Gokul. But he disappears Prabhash, where this pastime takes place, near Dwarka, in Gujarat, actually, on the land of Gujarat. And then he comes back two mature. So 2 deaths, 2 births, 2 mothers, 2 fathers. Is this God or not? He can do that. And devotees can accept it. Why? Because they chant Hare Krishna. If you don't chant Hare Krishna, all poppy stories, what they call mythological. But devotees know this is actually the reality. Krishna began searching for him and calling out, oh yes, I read that. I have enacted this pastime just to establish your honor throughout the 3 worlds. Sri Krishna, on my order, yes, I read all that. And susceptible to being wounded. Sri Rukmini Devi, he continued, I am very pleased with you, seeing your devotion for the Supreme Lord and your extreme tolerance. This is like Chandravali, extreme tolerance. Radharani would not have tolerated this. I am compelled to bless you. Radharani probably would have. Actually, Radharani had the benediction from Durvasa. That's how she could feed Krishna every day. Durvasa figures everywhere in all the different leelas. I am compelled to bless you. Durvasa Rishi then blessed her, saying, you will be the most exalted of all the chaste ladies in the world, and you will have everlasting fortune. This pastime teaches the sadhak the importance of tolerance and patience. Interesting, today we're talking about tolerance and patience, and the embodiment of this in this world was this Bhakti Kusum Sraman Goswami Maharaj. He was described, there was a story when he was attacked verbally by a very crazy devotee, and he didn't say anything. And the devotees were very angry with this devotee who was criticizing so strongly. And then for the next 2 or 3 days, this devotee was going to all the other devotees and criticizing him more and more and more. And then it's described, a snake fell on his head from a cupboard and bit him on the face, and within a few moments he was dead. And Bhakti Kusum Sraman Maharaj, he was very unhappy for that. That was his humility. He was showing, just like in Jaivadama, when Vaini Madhav gets bitten by the snake. And old Babaji is very sad, actually, even though he caused so much problem. Babaji. So this is real humility and tolerance. Even the slightest mistake in one's dealings can result in an offense to the Vaishnavas and thus cause bhakti to disappear forever. Leaving aside all other benedictions, Sri Satyabrat Muni is praying that Sri Krishna's Balagopal form remain manifest within his heart forever. He only wants the form of Sri Damodar to appear there. So that's the end of my Gurudev's commentary on this 4th verse. There's a very long footnote here that the devotees can read themselves on page 97, 98, 99. Next 5 pages, which are very enlightening, which we'll see, maybe read tomorrow or not. But hopefully we'll just go into verse 5. We want to obviously complete this book during our Kartik Parikama, but I think on Monday, perhaps it is, there's the Tirabhav of Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj and Srila Trivikram Maharaj. The next day is the Tirabhav of Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and that'll be on Tuesday. And then after that, there's the disappearance day of Bhakti Swarup Siddhanti Maharaj is the next day. So we have 3 disappearance days next week that we will obviously have to honor. So I think we're making pretty good progress. My Gurudev used to say every year at around this stage of the Kartik, because we would have a group of almost 2,000 Westerners sometimes, and many, many Bengali and Indian devotees, and he would always be thankful on this particular day that no unfavorable accident had taken place, that all the devotees had been protected by the various catastrophes that could happen in a large group driving all around on the rough roads in India, etc. So he was always very grateful for the mercy shown towards the devotees by Purnamasi Devi, by all the higher powers that would safeguard his devotees. So my Gurudev would always, he didn't take it for granted that yes, everything is going fine, we have no problem. he always knew it was by the Lord's mercy that we had no problem. So Damodarastakam ki jai, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Girirani Maharani ki jai, Haridasa Varya ki jai, Gop Premanande. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gau Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavayavcha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavai Namo Namaha.